It's time for the Tech Mobility Show with Ken Chester. Ken is a veteran journalist who doesn't always color between the lines. So, here he is, the host with the electrified personality, Ken Chester.
Real facts, real opinions, real talk. It's the Tech Mobility Show, your program for news, information, and perspective at the intersection of mobility and technology. I'm Ken Chester. We have plenty to discuss during this visit, so let's get started. On the docket, the state of ultra-fast EV charging, the Boeing 777X starts certification flights, and the Japanese whiz kid who wants to take on Tesla. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or even suggest an idea for future discussion, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793, or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. And that is talk@techmobility.show. Be sure to follow us on social media, including our YouTube channel and our podcast, the Tech Mobility Podcast and Tech Mobility Topics. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, I want to talk about Mazda. Zoom Zoom is alive and well as Mazda makes the changeover, primarily what we would call a second-tier Japanese manufacturer, primarily of cars that had performance nature. They drove fast. They were known for handling. They were known for looks. Now has made the pivot. The first pivot that Mazda has largely made was into a growing line of crossovers and SUVs, with their long-standing popular one being the CX-5, which, to my understanding, is also their highest volume crossover SUV. In recent years, they have added, and I have had the opportunity to drive, the following. They've added the CX-3. They've added the CX-50, which I want to come back to in a moment. They've added the CX-90, which is their top of the line, three-row large SUV, and then the CX-70, which is a masterstroke for them because basically it's a CX-90 without the third row seat. And let me tell you something. That will be the home run, I think. It has cavernous space. And I really believe, having spent some time with the last 2 weeks, I've spent with two different configurations of the CX-70, the regular twin turbo version, gasoline version, and then their plug-in hybrid version, which I like better, actually. I think the performance and response is actually better in their plug-in hybrid than in their twin turbo V6, personal opinion. But the big thing that I liked about this newest, and the CX-70 is the latest one, and it's a 2025 model. I believe that it has the potential of being the next vehicle in the fleet of a private vehicle fleet or on-demand fleet or black car fleet, as Lincoln Town Cars in the past and Audi A8s in the past. Honestly, with the room that it has, somebody could very easily add a few upgrades and have a phenomenal experience, both for driver and passengers in that vehicle. I think Mazda is just scratching the tip of the iceberg. And when I say cavernous, I mean this thing's got room. Room for the back seat, room for cargo. CX-70 is going to be a home run for them. But let me come back a little bit. Halfway through the year, Mazda is getting closer to achieving its goal in the United States for selling 450,000 vehicles this year. They're already past 200,000 through the first 6 months of this year, and that's a 10% increase over the same period in 2023. That means they sold roughly 18 to 20,000 more vehicles this year than they did last year. And I can literally tell you it's on the strength of the CX-90. That is the one that is really pushing things for them. Mazda has been working hard to shed its mainstream image, adding artfully designed, well-appointed crossovers designed for the U.S. to its curated lineup. I should also mention this. Mazda still builds a subcompact sedan, the Mazda 3. In case you were wondering, four-door sedan is still sold by the automaker in the United States and is still in production. The other vehicle that they still sell, and I reviewed this year, is the Mazda Miata MX-5. It's still around. It's still selling after, it came out in 89. So we're talking 34, 35 years still in production and still selling. And according to a recent article about future product plans in the automotive news, both the Mazda 3 and the MX-5 should continue to be in the Mazda fleet at least to the end of the decade. At least that long. And I think that just says well of the vehicles. So here's what we have in the Mazda lineup in the United States right now. You've got the MX-5. You've got the Mazda 3. These are cars. The CX-3, which is their smallest crossover. The CX-5, a little larger, which is their volume leader. The CX-50, the CX-70, and the CX-90. And they're planning to bring hybrids and electric versions of these vehicles to market in the latter part of this decade. So they're planning not only to carve out new markets, but to double down on that by providing vehicles that make economic sense for consumers. Let me back up. I want to talk about the CX-50 for a minute. Regular listeners and folks that follow me on social media know about a year and a half ago, I was out in the California desert reviewing the all-new CX-50. I thought it was a phenomenal car. The CX-50 is actually built in the United States in a joint venture plant in Alabama with Toyota and Mazda, which, by the way, Toyota owns a part of Mazda. They own a part of Subaru, too, in case you didn't know. The CX-50 that I drove had the capability to tow 3,500 pounds, which is basically in the realm of a gasoline-powered Ford Maverick, one of the small pickup trucks that Ford sells. It is a can-do, rock-solid rock star on or off-road. It was comfortable. It had cameras all over the place, no matter where you were. And they had us off-road looking at the sky. We had to initiate the front leading camera so we could see where we were, because we couldn't see because the car was pointed up. Turned on the cameras so we could see the ground as the car went up over a hill. They were just amazing. I really think that if there is a sleeper in this lineup, it is the CX-50. I think more people who maybe don't want a pickup, maybe you don't want a traditional SUV, maybe you don't want all that heaviness, but you want something that's sophisticated that can do the job on or off road. I think the CX-50 is what you want. Really do, because it does everything so well. It will surprise you and it will impress you. And it's reasonably priced. And this is where Mazda is going. They really are. And it's excellent. Mazda is also adding a hybrid variant to the CX-50 compact crossover. Yeah, I want to get in line for that one, because that just takes an excellent crossover SUV and takes it to the next level. And I don't see how you go wrong with that thing. I really don't. And if I'm waxing positive about it, it really, of everything, and I mean the Mazda lineup, considering that they went from body-on-frame SUVs back in the Mazda Navajo days. Mazda used to make a small pickup truck, the B2000. Mazda used to build a van, the MPV. The Mazda 626, 323 were both well-regarded cars. In its last rendition, the midsize Mazda 6 sedan was a sleeper that I think a lot of people didn't get a chance to appreciate, because honestly, the car came across a lot more expensive than it actually was. But Mazda really never told the story. And it was a very, very good and stylish car. Now they've come where the public is. And I don't see a laggard in the bunch. And I've driven everything Mazda currently offers in the United States. I'm waiting for that CX-50 hybrid, though. That one I want to drive because I've driven the original CX-50. Think it's awesome. This could only add more. They believe that the CX-50 hybrid will help it nudge volume closer to a CX-5 sibling. Out of that 450,000, CX-5 alone sells 150,000, all by itself. So, and it's been around for quite a while. A lot of people love it for good reason. Available EV charging is evolving at lightning speed. We will discuss the state of charging next. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're changing the name of Datsun to Nissan.
I hope you're not changing all that room.
No, all we're changing is our name. From now on, we're Nissan.
I hope you're not changing that great performance, Datsun. Nissan.
We wouldn't dream of it. All we're changing is our name.
Okay, from now on, you're Nissan.
Come alive, come and drive. Major motion from Nissan.
The name is Nissan.
The year was 1984. For whatever reason, when Nissan launched a line of cars in the United States, they used the Datsun brand, although their vehicles are marketed throughout the world as Nissans everywhere but the United States. Who knew? In 1984, they figured it out, and they retired Datsun, became Nissan. The rest is history. And I thought that was pretty interesting because you don't get, and in fact, to my knowledge, is the only major auto manufacturer that had to do a rebranding, which really wasn't a rebranding, more than bringing one of their major markets in line with the rest of the world, the way that they sell their vehicles everywhere else. But it was just an interesting time, and I thought I would share it. EV batteries that can be 80% charged in just under 5 minutes. Fairy tale? Nope. What about an ultra-fast public charging station that isn't dependent on the grid, but on renewable energy? Another pipe dream, right? Sorry to tell you, again, nope. These are but two examples of real-world applications happening around the globe right now with regards to EV fast charging. This is Topic A. I have been a broken record on this point. And the point is this, that technology and demand would rectify a lot of the shortcomings in the public charging space in the next few years. That EV batteries were getting better, that charging stations were getting more efficient. I've gotten a lot of email and a lot of voicemail from people who say, you know, the grid can't handle it. Why are you talking about EVs? You're always so positive about EVs. Tell everything. Okay, I will. In the Netherlands right now, there is a fast charging public charger, a direct charger, fast charging charger that does not connect to the power grid at all. Rather, it is connected to a network, get this, of solar panels. And it has 600 kilowatts of power available to charge vehicles quickly. The name of the company is PowerGo, and it's in collaboration with Powerfield, and they have launched a unique ultra-fast charging station in the Netherlands featuring a 240 kilowatt charger compared with a 600 kilowatt hour battery. This solution addresses grid congestion and provides EV drivers with 100% solar energy. And in case you're wondering, that charger is available and active and on and charging vehicles right now. EV drivers charge with 100% solar energy source from Powerfield solar parks. And this has been going on since March of this year. And at any given time, 2 EVs can charge simultaneously with a maximum of 240 kilowatts. In the course of a day, this one charger can charge up to 10 different vehicles a day. In response to severe grid congestion in North Holland, where transport capacity is limited and wait times for connections can extend up to 4 years, PowerGo's solution enables fast charging with that 600 kilowatt hour battery. Imagine that. Doesn't have to rely on the energy grid, easing demand during peak periods. PowerGo's dynamic pricing model offers fair and transparent charging prices based on the hourly electricity price, encouraging EV drivers to charge more when cleaner energy is available. This approach not only benefits the environment, but reduces costs for consumers. The PowerGo Charge app provides access to these dynamic prices. So let me answer the question that the haters is asking. What happens on a cloudy, rainy day? It is obvious that this fast charger is still connected to the grid. But what they have done is they've set the pricing up so that people are encouraged to use it when it is drawing strictly from the renewable energy source. That theoretically, they can cut it off from the grid. If demand in the grid exceeds a point where it can't support this thing, it can support itself. It can support itself. Bottom line, it does not need the power grid to recharge EVs. I want that to sink in. This is one of, no doubt, many different solutions that will be coming to market in the next 10 years as folks take a hard look at EV charging demand, available grid capacity, and making adjustments to optimize what's available. In this case, it's solar power. In other cases, it could be wind energy. It could be a wind farm, just as easy. All you would really need is connection to the wind farm to a large battery storage area, which would store the energy when the wind was blowing, be available when it wasn't, and on demand for vehicles to drive up, get repowered, and go about their business and not impact the grid at all. PowerGo is committed to fast, easy, and guaranteed green charging, making sustainable mobility accessible to everybody. And this is not their first project. Their charging points located at shopping centers, business parks, and various urban and regional sites ensure 100% solar energy charging. And they've even done this across 7 European countries and had partners including Radisson Hotel Group, KFC, and various governments. That's just them. Let's talk about an ultra-fast EV battery. We have talked about for the last 7 years on this program that battery chemistries will change. Battery pack configurations will optimize. They will be looking at and changing materials, getting rid of the rare earth materials, namely cobalt, nickel, manganese, in order to get the price down, reliability up, and sustainability up. And I told you that as domestic manufacturers, traditional automotive manufacturers scale up their EV products, that would drive innovation in the whole supply chain of EV batteries, storage, and charging. Here's another case. The company's name is Nyobolt. That's Nyobolt. Their batteries can charge from 10% to 80% in under 5 minutes. They can last over 600,000 miles with minimal capacity loss. And they're talking right now to 8 different automotive companies about adopting their technology. Let me say that again. I said 5 minutes. 10% to 80%, 5 minutes. Nyobolt, right now. They expect to have this stuff in the marketplace in the next 2 years. This is happening. This is happening. Boeing's latest commercial jet has just received the green light for certification flights. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media, it's the place to be. We're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Despite the company's well-publicized troubles of late, other parts of Boeing continue on. In this case, the development of a new commercial jet, the 777X. The Federal Aviation Administration has just given Boeing the green light to begin certification flights on the new jetliner. This is Topic B. It is easy to lose sight of the size of Boeing. The fact that they are a military contractor, the fact that they build space vehicles, the fact they build commercial aircraft, the fact that they do other specialty projects. It is easy to forget that Boeing builds more than the 737 MAX that has been front and center for the last few years in terms of its problems, the fact they cut corners, all of this stuff. No doubt, in the development of this new large aircraft, and it's the largest thing in the air. And you'll see why it took so long. Used to be back in the day, from the time they filed their applications to the time they got a green light, it was 18 months. In this case, for this one, over 10 years from the time they first built them and started testing them, 4 years from the time they started working towards getting the ability to get certified. Bear in mind, this is not yet certified airworthy by the FAA. And Boeing has over 10 years in this thing. They've been flying this plane in testing for, more than 4 years. And I want to see how many flights. Oh, yeah. They have put their test fleet, they have a fleet of these through more than 1,200 flights and 3,500 flight hours across a wide range of regions and climate conditions. That was just to get the FAA to say, you know what? We've got enough data to let you start the flights that we want you to do in order to certify the plane so you can put it into service. There's a long lead time. If you think the auto industry has long lead times, and they do, Boeing introduced this plane to potential customers in 2013. From then to now, they are holding 481 orders for this aircraft when they get around to build it. Up till this plane, Airbus had the largest plane, something called the A380 Super Jumbo Jet. They stopped making it because nobody wanted it. Nobody was flying like that at the volumes like that. And to be honest, the 777X, its life in the two generations that it has, the 777-9X and the 777-8X, one of those two will actually be used, the AX will actually be used for cargo, air freight. And that is really where the growth of this thing is going to be. Yeah. In the past, new Boeing jets were generally certified and cleared to enter service within 18 months of the first flight. That has not been the thing. The 77X was launched at the Dubai Air Show in 2013, first flew in January 2020, that's 7 years, and now it looks like it could be certified in the second half of 2025, 5 years after that. So from the time it was announced to the time it actually gets certified, you're looking at 12 years. The reason why, no doubt, is that it must repeat many of the tests that they've already done for the FAA to observe, including in-flight stalls, deliberate tail strikes, and aborted takeoffs at full weight and speed. Why? Because the FAA is back to doing its job. That the 737 MAX, what they allowed the aircraft maker to do is something called self-certification. They allowed Boeing to vouch for its aircraft, said, yeah, it meets that. Yeah, here's our data. Yeah, it does that. And up till recently, FAA said, okay, we'll accept that. Not anymore. Not anymore. In addition to the 4 test planes, Boeing has already built and stored 22 of the 777X jets, many parked nose to tail on a runway at Payne Field with large blocks hanging from the wings in the place of engines. Another 6 are in various stages of assembly at the plant in Everett. All of those jets built before certification is achieved will have to be reworked with any changes developed during flight test program before they can be delivered to airlines. Meaning, if the FAA does not like a system, a procedure, a software, a backup system, anything, they can tell Boeing, change it. And Boeing will have to change it in order to get a certificate that says that that plane is airworthy to be in the skies in the United States and around the world. Without that certificate, Boeing cannot sell the plane, and no one can fly that plane legally. That's what's going on these days. That is what's going on these days with the FAA. Over the next year to 18 months. Now, bear in mind, this plane's been flying for 4 years. Over the next year to 18 months from now, Boeing must put the plane through a series of demanding flight tests on 4 separate test aircraft to demonstrate to the FAA that the 777X can be certified as satisfying all safety regulations. That means FAA examiners will be on board the plane to see for themselves and to vouch for themselves. I have a particular interest in the certification process. My dad worked almost 30 years for a major American airline. He was a master aircraft technician, and he would explain to me over many conversations around the dinner table when he came home from work about the redundancies in systems, that every critical system, regardless of airplane manufacturer, had at least 1 or 2 backups because failure in the air was not an option. And they were required to know and understand when they were working on these planes what they were working on. My dad told a story once. He worked nights for what was then U.S. Air, of an FAA inspector coming up to him on the line, and he was in the middle of doing a maintenance repair on an aircraft, started asking questions about it, asked about the part, asked about what the part does, why is he changing it, what does he hope to accomplish. My dad in order to keep his licenses, because every master aircraft technician that works for a commercial airline has to be licensed by the FAA, and the FAA can lift your license, and if they do, you cannot work on commercial aircraft. And they asked hard questions, and you best know the answers. If you didn't, you got rolled up. Rolled up 3 times, you out. The FAA is getting back to its roots. They are not playing. They want to make sure that this new large aircraft, whether it's used for cargo or passenger service, is fit. And the FAA should have been doing that all the time. But they had a temporary lapse, but it appears that the FAA is back on their job. I hope they're doing the same thing over at Airbus, because Airbus is the other large commercial aircraft manufacturer that builds planes that American Airlines fly. So with all the changes and all the technological advancements in this plane, the FAA wants to make sure that everything is right and it's kosher for the American public and American businesses that use it. He's a Japanese AI whiz kid who wants to take on Tesla with a new self-driving EV startup. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. I want you to remember this name, Issei Yamamoto. He wants to take on Elon Musk. He's a Japanese AI whiz kid who's already famous in the AI software circles for programming a computer that was first to beat a grandmaster in the board game of shogi, a more complex form of chess. Now he's aiming for the mountaintops with his new self-driving EV startup. This is Topic C. I would not count this man out. Now, to be honest, we have chronicled the rise and fall of a number of EV manufacturers. We've talked about Faraday Future. We've talked about Fisker. We've talked about Karma. We've talked about, you name it. We have talked about them. Some have made it. Some are still struggling. Lordstown Motors, a bunch of different companies. It is the beautiful part about capitalism. People with a dream can get out there, and if you can raise enough money to play in the sandbox, come on. This gentleman is so bodacious about beating Elon Musk that at his company, stenciled on the wall, when you walk into the reception area, they have these 3 words stenciled on the wall that you will see. First, we overtake Tesla. The man's not playing. But, you know, if you go back 25 years, there was this fella who had just sold PayPal to eBay. He was flush with $1.3 billion. A South African who had never built cars before, let alone EVs, who decided to reinvent the way that vehicles were made and actually in so doing made EVs cool. That man, his name was Elon Musk. And up till the launch of the Model 3 back about 7 years ago, Tesla in its first 10 to 15 years had built less than combined 100,000 cars. Yet with the Model 3, they were talking about ramping up to build 500,000 cars a year, every year. We laughed. I was one of them. I'll admit it. Sold him short. He had tons of orders for the Model 3. Oh, he'll never pull it off. He decided to skip body in white, meaning pre-assembling the car to verify all the part manufacturers, all the parts, all the systems worked prior to going into full production. The man went head first, went into what he called production hell, rode it out. And now the Model Y, which is based, crossover, which is based on the Model 3, and the Model 3 are some of the highest volume EVs sold in the world and are the volume leaders. So before I turn Mr. Yamamoto, before I second guess the man, I'm not going to quite yet because they laughed at Elon Musk too. And you see how that's gone. Now in 2021, he's already got 3 years in on this mobility startup. And it's called Turing. That's Turing. And there's a meaning behind that. Much like Tesla is based on Nikola Tesla, Turing is a fella, he's a mathematician. The actual fella that he named the company after was a mathematician, Alan Turing. He was a British mathematician, often called the father of computer science. And I'll go you one more. The Association of Computer, and I forget the name of it, but we reported on them, a Computer Users and Development Association has the Turing Award that they give out at that level. So he didn't pick this name by accident. But Mr. Yamamoto may have hit right in the perfect storm of opportunity. Seems that the Japanese want companies to get in front of and become leaders in self-driving cars, EVs, and are putting money behind it to promoting homegrown players. So he may be right there. Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry wants Japanese companies to secure a 30% market share in global sales in software-defined vehicles by 2030. And the government is spending billions of dollars to catch up to the U.S. and China. Mr. Yamamoto and his company may be in the right place at the right time to benefit from this influx of money, which he is going to need to do it. Because he didn't stop there. He wants to make his own chips, build his own vehicles, and have his own chips used in his own cars, and have a level 5 autonomous vehicle in the market by 2030. And he expects to make money by 2030. I say that if he's successful, he won't make money until 2035 or 2040. Simply because there is a whole lot of competition, and everybody will be hitting their strides by the second part of this decade. It will not be for the faint, the weak of heart, or the thin of pocket. If you survive this industry, if you are in business as an EV manufacturer and or autonomous EV manufacturer in the world, selling vehicles around the world, particularly in the United States, in the year 2035, then you have survived the initial shakeout of all the product currently on its way to market and starting to hit the market in the United States and around the world outside of China. And bear this in mind. If you think Chinese companies are just sitting on their hands content with just selling in China EVs, you got another thought coming. They're expanding in Europe and growing. And get this, they're building factories in Mexico. They're building R&D centers in Mexico. And right now, while there's still barriers for Chinese companies to do business in the United States, how long do you think that's going to be before that changes? Before they get their content right to where it's really not a Chinese company at all, but a Mexican company under the North American agreements, and that you might see your first EVs and autonomous EVs at that from formerly Chinese companies entering into the United States in its marketplace. There are vehicles built in Korea and China right now for sale in America. They're brands that you are familiar with. But the day is coming when those brands will be their own brands. And as it turns out, Mr. Yamamoto might just be one of them from Japan. If he's on track, and I don't know where he's going to get the money from because he's going to need a lot of it, but I would not sell him short because many other people have sold folks short at their own peril, only to find out that actually they found a way, an ingenious way to compete, and not just compete, but to thrive. And we'll see if he sells his 10,000 vehicles at the end of the decade by 2030, because that's his goal. Autonomous level 5 vehicles, his brand, with his chips by the year 2030. Japanese AI-based automotive EV company. Gotta see. We have come to the close of our visit together. Be sure to join me right here next time. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.